sick of people at ESPN or Sports Center who think they have the heads on their shoulders but really don't? Well, it's time for the Jimmy the K Sports Show. We're going to give you the most urgent sports news. Now it's time for the Jimmy the K Sports Show. Sit back, buckle up, and get ready for the number one sports show on the web. Here we go, my sports friends. How y'all doing this Tuesday evening? It's me, your host, Jimmy the K. You see me each and every Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. If you're in the Central area. How are y'all doing this wonderful Tuesday evening? I'm doing peachy cream. Lots of sports news. Let's get to it as we do each and every week. Let's go ahead and go with the top sports news of the day. Go through some of the sports news. There's a couple of things that I definitely want to go over. I want to look at on today's show. I want to look at Cam Newton bringing up the whole issue of people not liking him because of race. Is it because of his race, or is it because of his arrogance? And also, I'm going to look at a little bit at Johnny Manziel and his troubles as he continues to get into trouble. And we're going to do a Super Bowl 50 preview. LaDainian Tomlinson goes off on the Patriots fans, and there's a video up online that basically has him telling Patriots fans to stop whining. Stop your whining. It's not all about you. You're not going to win all the time. Sorry, Tom Brady, you're not the best in the world. Sorry, Bill Belichick, you're not the best in the world. Stop whining. If you don't like what I'm saying, too bad. That's why I host the show and you don't, as LaDainian Tomlinson would say. It's actually a pretty good video. He goes off and just rips Patriots fans and basically tells them to stop whining. I'll have to echo that. I know some Patriots fans that are loyal, and by all means, I don't want to into a scuffle with any of them, but you win some and you lose some, and it's sad to say, but sometimes y'all whine just a little too much. I mean, it's okay to be a fan, a whine, but once you've lost, you've lost. It's time to move on. You know what I mean? So LaDainian Tomlinson calls them out. It's actually pretty hilarious in a way. Okay, some of y'all heard the story about former OU great Blake Griffin slugging at an assistant there in the Los Angeles Clippers organization, and one of his friends publicly came out and stated something sinister made Blake Griffin slug a friend. Really? You don't say. The truth of the matter is, Blake Griffin's a pretty level-headed guy. It's going to take something pretty big to set him off. Whatever it was, that assistant did it, whether it be right or wrong. I'm not saying either one was right or either one was wrong. But it takes a lot for Blake Griffin to just go off on somebody. Now, was he right in doing it? No, he was not right in doing it. The truth of the matter is he could have punched a wall just as easily and broken your hand and been out 4 to 6 weeks. Stupid on his part. I went over this last week. Griffin's a good player. And, for him to do something that stupid and that arrogant really, really messes the team up. The general managers called him out on it. And will there be other penalties other than his being out with a broken hand for 4 to 6 weeks? Quite possibly. We won't know. If I was general manager, definitely. Probably a week or two suspension would go along with that. But I'm not there. But again, as a friend say, something sinister had to have went on for him just to go off and slug the person. Wow. We all know LeBron James and his antics and what happened there in Cleveland, where it's possible that he got David Blatt fired. We went over that over the show last week. And it's publicly been stated through his general manager and emails and calls to me that LeBron does not have a no trade clause, so he could be traded anywhere. Now, if he wanted to be traded to Timbuktu, they could trade him to Timbuktu and get a first round pick or two or three out of it. So that's not good for LeBron James, because typically having a no trade clause allows you to veto any trade to any organization, and he has none. So he can be traded to any of those teams. So, if the general manager starts to feel like LeBron James has gotten a little too arrogant, as we went over last week in the show, it feels like something needs to be done to better the arrogance of the team, to lower the level-headedness of the team. Then he's got the opportunity, the ability to go after and trade LeBron James for picks or players to be named later or for a big name. But if he were to trade LeBron James, he's going to at least get a first round pick out of the deal and a two-tier player, a two-tier player out of the deal. It's not going to be any of this lollygagging around and only trading for a first round pick, and that's it. So, sorry, LeBron James, but your general manager has called you out on this. So, sorry for the loss. Good luck, good riddance. Hopefully, you don't get traded. But he does have that ability if he wants the ability. Pretty smart move on the Cavaliers' part. A little bit on the baseball side. I won't get into too much on it. The Houston Astros signed Doug Fister. Do I think that this trade or this signing is a good trade or a good sign? Definitely, definitely. I feel like he's one of those players that if he has a bounce back season from where he was at 2 or 3 years ago, it would be a pretty good pickup for the Houston Astros. A good 3, 4, maybe even 5 for the Houston Astros. But adding him to their rotation, a healthy Doug Fister, that is, to their rotation, just gave the Houston Astros a viable chance at possibly winning the West. But as I stated at the end of the season last year, the AL West this year is going to be stacked. It's going to be one of those divisions that look like the AL East in years past. We saw that a little bit last year where it was basically a 3-team battle between the Astros, the Angels, and the Rangers. This year will be a little bit different with all 5 teams competing healthy and it looking more and more like the AL East, 2 or 3 years ago where it was so bunched together and it came down to that final week, final 2 or 3 games. So a good pickup there by the Houston Astros. Okay, now to the story and stories that I hate doing, but it's got to be done. Stephen A. Smith. I admire the guy. He's a really good guy, great broadcast colleague, somebody that's pretty smart. But what he is doing right now with the race baiting and his programs is getting a little bit out of hand. Of course, being in the broadcast industry, you know why Stephen A. is doing this. I know why he's doing it. You, as a viewer, may not. You may just be going, "Oh, great, Stephen A. Smith, there he goes again." It's all about ratings. You come out to February, March, April. You start getting into sweeps. You had sweeps. In September and October. You'll have sweeps again in February and March. And your ratings start to tank. You've got to find ways to get those viewers back. How are you going to get those viewers back? What are you going to do to get those viewers back? You know, are you going to do anything and everything under the sun to get those viewers back? Stephen A. Smith says, yes, I'm going to do everything in my mind's eye to get those viewers back. How is he doing it? He's doing it through race baiting. What do I mean? Cam Newton, I believe we discussed this last week. Cam Newton has come out and basically blatantly said other players, fans of the NFL don't like me because here we go, I'm black. Stephen A. Smith, the African Americans radio god, comes out and says, hey, he's got a point. It's because he's black. Again, I stated this last week. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin. I don't care if you're purple, pink, blue, black, orange, indigo, red, brown, white. I could care less if you're Indian. If you're a good athlete, I can see a good athlete. Peyton Manning's a good athlete. Cam Newton is a good athlete. And I see them as athletes. Where I see the problem here, and this is me calling Stephen A. Smith out again, is these arrogant, airheaded radio hosts and TV hosts, but blatantly Stephen A. Smith, who goes out there and wants to throw crumbs out there to every prejudiced person out there. I understand. And as a person, you've got to understand. This is where you get into it with a lot of people all over, and I've gotten into it with plenty. Is the fact that yes, we have prejudice now. I'm not gonna lie, we have prejudice. There are prejudice in sports. There are prejudice in schools. There are prejudice in workplaces. Yes, we have that. Is there racism in it? Is there racism in sports? Is there racism in the workplace? Is there racism here? No, there's a difference between prejudice and racism. The difference is prejudice. Here I go with my English lesson that I didn't want to have to give. A prejudice is prejudging. Preseason in a sport, pre being before. Uh, Preseason is before the season starts. Preseason games are before the season starts games. Games that don't count. A prejudice is judging somebody before you know them. That's me looking at a tatted person, not saying hi to them, not smiling at them, not talking to them, because I feel like that tatted person is a criminal just by the looks of those tattoos. That's a prejudice. Racism is the fact that I don't like you because you have a different color of skin than me. That is totally different as a prejudice. A prejudice is basically what we as parents tell our kids: don't judge a book by its cover. If you go out, if I'm playing a sport with any of my friends, Markel Williams, Josh Naylor, Eric Buckman, just to name a few, I'm naming all my friends here, and they're going, hey, I don't even watch this show, but their names are going to pop up. It's going to be hilarious. James Fields, and I go out and I play a sport with him, and we're all good, we're all going to have a camaraderie amongst each other. We're going to have a camaraderie that, hey, you're good, I'm good, we're a team. We have a team atmosphere. So therefore, we don't care if you're black, white, purple, Hispanic, green, a purple people eater, a unicorn. We're still going to like you. All right? Where we get into problems as broadcasters is when we want to try to throw coal onto a fire that is not even started. This fire was not started. Cam Newton started this fire. His radio god, Stephen A. Smith, has jumped in and decided that he wants to take this to the next level. Again, I will reiterate, is there prejudice in sports, in the workplace, in churches, in schools? Yes. Is there racism? No, the racism and prejudice are two different things. You can look them up in the dictionary. They don't have the same meaning. And that's where Stephen A. Smith has gotten into a problem. For 2 weeks now, he's went off on this whole fact that, people don't like him because he's black. The NFL doesn't have enough black coaches, enough Hispanic coaches. There aren't enough Hispanic players. These general managers and owners are signing the best players. It's not because they are white. It's not because they are black. It's not because they are Hispanic. It's not because they are Indian. It's because they are the best player that they have scouted. Scouting takes a unique form. Those scouts take time. They go out and they scout those players. They go back to the general managers and the owners and say, hey, he's the best available guy. Let's sign him. And it happens. Same with coaching. The truth of the matter is these owners, general managers, and scouts are going to do everything in their right mind to put the best team on the field, no matter if they're black, white, purple, Hispanic, a unicorn. They don't care. If it's going to put the best available team on that field, then they're going to put those players on that field. They don't care what color they are. For 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks now, I've had to listen to this knucklehead, Stephen A. Smith, use his race baiting, and yes, I'm calling it what it is, race baiting, to try to drive his ratings. The truth of the matter is, Stephen A. Smith, it's not working. ESPN, over the last year on your show, not only your show, but your radio program, has watched a 10% decrease in viewers. 10%. People are starting to jump ship. You know what that means? That means you're doing something wrong. And what you're doing wrong is you're throwing race into everything. Let's stop that, Stephen A. Smith. I can agree to disagree with you on this. Because the truth of the matter is you are wrong on all accounts on this. Wrong. People don't like Cam Newton because he is black. It has nothing to do with the color of his skin and everything to do with the fact that he showboats and he's arrogant. Fans like it. Other teams' fans don't like it. Well, that's their prerogative. It's not because he's black. It's because they feel like he is arrogant and he showboats too much. It has nothing to do with the color of his skin. So once again, for the second week in a row, Stephen A. Smith, I'm calling you out here. I'm calling you out. I am sick and tired of your race baiting. I'm coming for you, one way or the other. You and I, Stephen A. You know, apparently you don't have the nads. You don't have the nads to go public with anybody other than people of your own race. Skip Bayless, fine. Y'all agree to disagree. I can tell y'all get along. But this one's the one that I want you to get in contact with me with. Because the truth of the matter is, you don't have the nads. You don't have the nads to go public with this show and say, hey, that's not what I meant. This is what I meant. And until you can get in contact with me and prove that that's not what you meant, I'm going to keep taking shots at you because the truth of the matter is you're just as arrogant and you're just as showboating as anybody out there. And your radio program is the worst of all radio programs out there. Hands down. If you're going to use race baiting, then you might as well just go to the African American channel because no one wants to hear your crap here. Plain and simple as that. There's that. Now to the other side of things. Johnny Manziel. Woohoo! Have we not heard enough about him already, right? Have we not heard enough about him? Johnny Manziel apparently and allegedly is going to be cut the first day that players can be cut. Why? Because he's arrogant. He's a spoiled brat who thinks he can get everything that he wants, but he just found out through the Cleveland Browns that you can party as hard as you want and you can do what you think you want, but yet you can still get cut by a team. Johnny Manziel is nothing more than an overrated Tim Tebow. And for teams like the Dallas Cowboys to even think about going after a player like Johnny Manziel is stupid on their part. And in the latest of knuckleheadedness, Johnny Manziel goes off and does this. He had an altercation with his girlfriend in Fort Worth. Fort Worth police confirmed this through their website, through Twitter as well, and through the NFL on CBS. They confirmed it through many reporters that he did have an altercation with his girlfriend. His girlfriend, when the police were called, the police arrived, basically stated that Johnny Manziel did not seem like he was in the right frame of mind, that they needed to get somebody out and possibly look for him. The Fort Worth Police Department tried 4 times, 4 different phone numbers that he has. How many phones does this kid need? 4 different phone numbers? Did not get an answer on any of them. Dallas Police and Fort Worth Police Department share a helicopter called Air One, which is basically the helicopter that goes around looking for suspects. They send Air One out. They find Johnny Manziel in Dallas, drinking it up. How stupid can you be, Johnny Manziel? How stupid can you be? You know, you think it's all right to hit your girlfriend? You think it's all right to flip off the other team, the Washington Redskins, when you're playing them? You think it's all right to go booze up and have 14 little scantily clad little whores, pardon my French, but that's exactly what they are. I make no apologies for calling those girls exactly what they are when that's what they are. They're groupie whores. You know, they're what concert goers, those ladies that follow, you know, these concert men and these bands around. They're groupies, but they want to fall in love with them. They want to love them. They want to love all over them. I make no apologies for calling it like it is. That's what they are. Plain and simple as that. When is it right to to go around with scantily clad whores taking pictures, you know, with your booze in hand, ladies all hanging all over you, their knockers hanging out. And when is it right for you to lie to your boss and say that you're not in Vegas when clearly they have cameras all over Vegas that say you're there, and you go under the name, the alleged name, Billy Manziel? How stupid is that? You know, if you're gonna do something and you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it right. Oh, hang on here. My fake name is Billy Manziel. Really? If you're gonna make up a fake name, make up a fake name that doesn't use your last name, you moron. This kid is a classic example of what happens when you give trophies to every little kid out there who think that they deserve it. Classic example. Sorry, Johnny Manziel. You lost by 10 points. Oh, the losing team gets a trophy. Oh, Johnny Manziel, you're God here at Texas A&M. Your daddy can do no wrong. Your daddy gives us billions of dollars to sponsor our school. He's a great oil man in the great state of Texas. He can do no wrong. He has limos take him everywhere. He has girls hanging all over him. And then he gets drafted by the Cleveland Browns, moves to Cleveland, and thinks, hey, I did this when I was in college. I can do this here. Ain't no one gonna stop me. Johnny Manziel. Again, I'm saying this with all love. You are nothing more than a overrated Tim Tebow. You'll be working for some low down Waffle House because you're too stupid, or you're going to wind up killing yourself or somebody else and wind up in jail just like Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez, a great football player in his days, but then he had to go off and murder somebody. How stupid was that? That's Johnny Manziel if he don't get his act together. Another classic example of you giving a trophy to a loser. Here, Johnny Manziel, you're worthless. Here, have a trophy, you loser. Alrighty. With that being said, I'm going to go over my Super Bowl 50 preview for this week. Super Bowl rankings. Or the Super Bowl previews for this week. You have the Denver Broncos against the Carolina Panthers. I did a blog post on this. I believe it was 2 or 3 days ago. It's up on the website, www.screamerproduction.wix.com/allaboutsportszone. Or if you like us on Facebook.com/allaboutsportszone, it's right there to the left. You can click on it as well. It's under the website. I'll briefly go over it. I'll won't give you verbatim of what the post is about because honestly, I want you to go there and read it. But I will paraphrase some of what happened of the my Super Bowl 50 preview. Behind all the glitz and glamour of the NFL playoff season already, we now know who the final two teams are in the AFC and NFC: the Carolina Panthers and Cam Newton against the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning. They will look to get the defeat of 2 years ago out of their mouths. Take a look at both quarterbacks through the playoffs through 2 games. Peyton Manning, 38 of 69, 55.1% completion rating, 398 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Cam Newton, on the other hand, 2 games, 35 of 50, 70% completion rating, 496 yards, 3 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Super Bowl 50 will feature 2 absolutely different quarterbacks in nature. Peyton Manning, who's a pocket passer now, that can avoid the sack, giving the opportunity to avoid it. However, Cam Newton, who can make a player no matter the situation. The numbers during the postseason look awfully close, but what could be an advantage for the Panthers is the youth of the young and talented Cam Newton. Peyton Manning, on the other hand, has been in the big show multiple times and knows how to mentally prepare for a big game of this magnitude. The difference maker. This game is going to be highlighted by 2 defenses and how dominant they can be. The Panthers have the very loud mouth and sometimes annoying Josh Norman, who will go up against Demaryius Thomas, who will wreak havoc on the Broncos receivers. If you look at the Broncos side, however, you have DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller, who have both been nightmares for both the opposing teams. And let's look at some of the problems. On one side, you have Cam Newton complaining people don't like him because he is quote unquote quote black. He now has his radio god Stephen A. Smith coming to his rescue as usual. If it has anything to do with the Trail of Tears, the 1950s, or Rosa Parks for that matter, Stephen A. Smith is right there to defend him. Unfortunately, it has nothing to do more than ratings for his pathetic radio program. I'm not going to lie. I understand there is still prejudice in this country has gone on. But to think that we have gone nowhere since the 50s is naive on one's part. Has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with the way he acts. I recognize a great athlete when I see one. Cam Newton, Jackie Robinson, Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, Troy Aikman, Bill Bates, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, and the list goes on and on. It's not about race. I do not like a player, but however, because the way a player conducts himself on and off the field. This will do nothing but get inside the head of the Panthers players and could very well cost them the Super Bowl. On the Denver Broncos side, you have quarterback Peyton Manning, who supposedly had HGH delivered to his house under his wife's name. Peyton Manning has ferociously denied this and has not brought this up since the playoffs have started. This is the poise of a quarterback that does not want any distractions during the big week as he goes to win the Super Bowl and go out on top. Again, I will reiterate what I blogged about 2 or 3 weeks ago along with what I stated on the show. I'm a firm believer that Peyton Manning would not have done any of the types of drugs that they're saying that he did because it would ruin his reputation not only in his community but amongst those charities that he knows and loves so well. I've looked at the 2 quarterbacks, the difference makers, and the problems going into Super Bowl 50. It will indeed be very fun to watch. Honestly, at this time, I'm going with the Broncos to win the Super Bowl, not only for Manning to go out on top, before the great defensive player in DeMarcus Ware to get his first ring, handing it to Jerry Jones. At first, I really was going with Panthers. However, with the mind games that Cam Newton thinks he is playing with the race card, I can't see him winning the Super Bowl. And honestly, I think Ware and Miller, the Broncos defense, will humble Cam Newton and the rest of the arrogance of the Carolina Panthers. So for Super Bowl 50, I'm going with the Denver Broncos in a close Super Bowl matchup, 13-10. It's basically a blurb of what I blogged about a couple of days ago. Again, you can go to the website and find that as well. Now, as I promised last week, I'm going to go over the top 25, if we're lucky, the top 25 in college basketball. Like I did with college football, go over the top 25, put in my 2 cents as where I would rate them. And then from there, the show will be yours. This is how the top 25 in college basketball rank as of right now. OU number 1, North Carolina 2, 3, Villanova 4, Maryland 5, Iowa, Xavier 6, 7, Kansas, Texas A&M 8, Virginia 9, 10, Michigan State, Providence 11, SMU 12, Iowa State 13, West Virginia 14, 15 Baylor, 16 Oregon, 17 Miami, 18 Purdue, 19 Louisville, Kentucky 20, Wichita State 21, Indiana 22, Arizona 23, 24 Dayton 25, rounding out South Carolina. My top 25 basically look the same through the top 20. Oklahoma, North Carolina, Villanova, Maryland, Iowa, Xavier, Kansas, Texas A&M, Virginia, Michigan State, Providence, SMU, Iowa State, West Virginia, Baylor, Oregon, Miami, Purdue, Louisville, Kentucky. I'd have Indiana going 21, Arizona 22, Wichita State 23, 24 we go South Carolina, Dayton 25. That's how my top 25 in college basketball would look. That's this week's show. I am your host, Jimmy Decay. You see me each and every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. If you have any thoughts or comments or questions for the show, feel free to send them my way. You can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/allaboutsportszone. You can tweet us your message at Jimmy Kersey1 is where you would follow. You can email me at allaboutsportszone@gmail.com. Questions, concerns, likes, dislikes. Or you can go to the website, www.screamerproduction.wix.com/allaboutsportszone. Go to Fan Gallery, click Contact, and there you can send me a message there as well. Those are the 4 easiest ways to get a hold of me. And until next Tuesday night, I am your host, Jimmy Decay. And until next time, see you next Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. I am Jimmy Decay.